Good evening, good evening. Sorry we kept you waiting, apologies. Welcome to Unapologetically Assertive. We are so happy to have you on board this evening. We are just admitting everybody into the room before we start. Okay, I've seen one of our speakers. Good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. In the chat box, please tell us where you're joining us from.
Welcome, welcome, Sicily. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Sorry, I'm here. Sorry, I'm coming in late.
Don't worry, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, just look at your message on your phone. So Masha, how many are we at right now? I guess we need to get to some quorum. Oh, we're already at 66. Wow, that's fast.
So we can see people joining from Gong, from Antwerp. Good evening, Ivy. Thank you very much for joining. From Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Kiambu, Vivian, welcome. Welcome, Modoni Muturi. From London, Helen, welcome, welcome to today's masterclass. I think I want to hand it over to you, Pauline, because we've taken a little bit of time starting off. So
we can start.
Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So good evening, ladies. Thank you very much for keeping time to attend this webinar. And yes, I think you've already told us where you're coming in from. We're happy to have this webinar this evening, with 3 fantastic ladies, who have a wealth of experience that we want to glean and learn from. And I would like you to just put in the chat any questions, any burning question that you've come in with that you would like us to answer for you. We would like you to just put any question that you might have, a burning question, so that there's a point where we'll start taking questions. Feel free to ask questions so that we can be able to address your burning questions. Thank you very much. And I want to just start with just an intro of the context of why we're doing what we're doing. I'll just show a few slides here so that you understand who we are. For some of you who haven't interacted with us, I know we have a few of our alumni in the call, but I think just for the benefit, today we'll be taking you through Unapologetically Assertive. This is the 5th webinar of a series of 12 webinars we're going to be running this year. And we urge you to attend as many as you can. And this is by the organization called TalentGurus254, which I founded in 2016. So Talent Gurus is a career coaching practice that is a global award-winning powerhouse that has transformed over 250,000 careers and counting. And we are here to help people unearth their genius, maximize their potential, navigate career transitions, as well as break through from stagnation. And how we're doing it? We're doing it through our Bespoke Leadership Academy, where we empower, enable tomorrow's leaders to live intentional, purposeful, and productive lives. And so that's why you see us doing what we're doing in the market space. And we are hoping to positively influence individuals to discover and harness their hidden as well as real talents so as to live purposeful and productive lives. So my name is Pauline Kiraithe, for those of you who haven't come across me. Yes, as I've said, I'm the founder of TalentGurus254. This is my 29th year of experience in people management as well as development. And I'm very passionate about all things around people, getting people to discover themselves and become as effective as possible. I'm an executive leadership, life as well as career and emotional intelligence, and now imposter syndrome coach. Yeah, because I truly believe in getting answers to questions. Yeah, and so these webinars that you're seeing is actually responses to problems I've been seeing in the market space, and we're trying to answer certain questions that keep emerging and recurring. So this is my 29th year, and I've worked in various industries. Our work has also been recognized both globally as well as locally and regionally. And we believe in benchmarking with the best across the world. So we are accredited by with various international organizations so that we bring you the best. So we've developed various programs. So we have the youth program, which is the Ignite Youth program, which we've rolled out. I'm sure most of you are aware of the Ascend Self-Leadership program, which is more of the corporate program. We are now moving to the 44th cohort with 931 graduates so far. We also help senior executives and C-suite with repackaging themselves. And then we also do one-on-one coaching. Yeah, we also have some products. We have our journals as well as our book, which has sold over 2,000 copies. We will soon be doing actually emotional intelligence. So we also have a program on that. And we do various talks all around careers and just getting to know, becoming a better version of yourself. So this series is part of the Gift at 50. So this is my Jubilee year, and we're doing 12 webinars around the pertinent subjects that I feel are important for us to address with various experts in the market space. Yeah, so we've already done 4 that have already passed, and the recordings are on YouTube in our channel, so you can get there and still be able to consume what we have already done. And today we are starting on the series. And so I am joined by very esteemed leaders in the market space, coaches, people who are passionate about women and women excellence. And at some point, I will allow them to introduce themselves. So these are the 3 ladies who will be joining us today. So I'll stop there for a moment and I will start the session. So that's the introduction of who we are, so that you feel you're in good hands. I hope you feel you're in good hands now. So welcome. So thank you very much, ladies and speakers. I am not going to do your introduction. I will give you the honors to do your own introduction. Yeah, so I really want to welcome you, and I want to thank you for taking the opportunity to share your experiences with us today. And I would like us to start off with you giving us an introduction, yeah, and an introduction of yourself, just a general short introduction of yourself, and then just tell us your own definition of what it looks like to be unapologetically assertive in the market space. So I'll start with senior most, which is Cecil. Cecil, you can start.
Thank you very much, Pauline, and thank you for having us tonight. And really appreciate the ladies. Can you hear me?
Yes.
To appreciate you for the great work that you keep, you continue to do to uplift ladies in leadership, emerging, and those that dream of being in spaces where we have been before. Appreciate the ladies for showing up, because and it's a chilly evening in Nairobi and wherever else, who would have chosen to actually be enjoying the comfort in our spaces, and therefore showing up already is a conversation that we are ready to move to the next level. So Sicily Kariuki, perhaps, I don't know what is your measure of seniority. It's perhaps the years I have been around public spaces, you know, or it could even be biological, it could even be everything else. But I'm one of the youngest leadership coaches. I'm celebrating my 3rd anniversary as a certified leadership coach. So if we flip that way, then I'm actually quite young. You should have started maybe with Dr. Faith, but never mind. So Sicily, currently the CEO of Reimagine Impact Associates, a firm that I founded in 2022 to focus on a passion of mine that I was not able to express when I was in the public spaces in terms of mentoring, coaching, doing strategic and policy visioning for corporates, but importantly, bringing, if you will, my lived experience in leadership, which is, yeah, that's why you call me senior, which is about 30 years, really. I mean, that's huge. And within which space I was privileged to interact with women in all the spaces as a cabinet minister for gender, youth, and public service in 2015 all the way to 2018. And therefore, that kind of came to me as raw material for me to support and to help women who are struggling with themselves in different spaces, because the space has been very, very narrow. The structures have made it very, very constrained, and therefore I lived it firsthand. And therefore, what I do today is a passion to grow leaders with a bias towards growing female leaders, because I mean, I've been there, so I know what it means. So that is what I do currently. In the past, cabinet minister, like I indicated, in 3 dockets: gender, public service, youth service, that is 1 docket, then moved on to be cabinet minister health in Kenya. And then I moved forward to be cabinet minister for water, sanitation, and irrigation. And I exited through a very honorable resignation to go and pursue my passion of being in elective politics as a governor. And as the conversation unfolds, you'll be able to see a little bit. But because my story is so lengthy, I have actually commuted it into a book. I have written the memoirs, my first volume of memoirs of Sicily Kariuki, and I called it Breaking the Illusions. I had to break the illusions of who Sicily really was, because you go to the rooms and you must be sponsored by, in quotes, for you to arrive there. And so I decided, for me, that is a piece that I'll be using to mentor. Going forward, again, ambitious, but it's been done. I intend to go forward to run for elective politics in 2027 to again be able to confirm the place of women in Kenyan leadership today and governance. I'll do it because I think I have the experience, but also because I'm convinced women bring something special in the leadership spaces and governance spaces. Over to you, Pauline. I think that's a mouthful, but yeah, that's Sicily.
Thank you, Cicely. And we are really grateful to have you here. Okay, Dr. Faith, you can follow, and then Dorcas can follow.
I think she's using age. I think that's what she's doing. Anyway. I am Faith Ngunjiri. I am used to be a full-time tenured professor until a few years ago, when in the middle of COVID, I thought it was a good idea to pack my bags and come back to Kenya and, become a solopreneur in the leadership development space. I have more than 2 decades of experience in leadership education and development. But as far as coaching, officially, formally coaching, it's been just a couple of years. Yeah, what else do you need to know? It's a good intro.
Yes. We will know more about you, don't worry.
Exactly. I'm an open book.
Okay, Karibu. Dorcas?
Thanks, Pauline. So my name is Dorcas Njuguna. I am a director at IHR Solutions, currently transitioning into Fanisi IHR in a partnership we're working on. I've been in the HR space for the last, I would say now 18 years in corporate, having worked in different industries, supporting organizations to reform and change what they're looking for in terms of talent. Currently, I'm now more focused on women leadership programs, where we have been supporting them through Women in HR, which has been running for the last 4 years. And we've been supporting more than 2,500 women, having coached and mentored 280 with the support of other mentors. One of the things I would say right now that holds me close every day to wake up is where I help organizations understand the talent they're looking for, but more so, how do we develop them to make sure that they bring out the best of themselves? I'm happy to be here as an Ikigai coach, helping everyone just find their purpose. Thank you, Pauline.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. So I think you can see why you're all here. You all have a clear passion for leaders and developing leaders, and a clear passion for women. Yeah, and I want us to now narrow down. And I want to start with you, Cecil. Yeah, Cecil, you've held a few public sector positions, as well as now you're doing your own entrepreneurship. I'd want you to just talk about what has been your journey in finding your voice. Yeah, the day you decided, you know what, I need to speak up and go for these positions. Yeah. So, what was the one thing that told you that you have to start speaking up authentically as Cecil?
Thank you. For me, it's been a very interesting journey, not kind of following the same path a lot of ladies have followed, because I grew up in a family within a very patriarchal community. But my father always reminded me that I don't believe I have a son and a daughter. Before my eyes, you're all the same, and my mother echoed the same. And therefore, even as I grew up, I knew that I needed to speak as much as the boys around the space were speaking. And it's no wonder that at 21 years, I was very privileged, but scared at the same time to actually be given an opportunity to start a girls' secondary school as an untrained teacher. And therefore, it meant my board members those years and the people around me were actually, the other gender. And therefore, I had to find my little voice in very, very interesting situations. But what I learned it really was accidental, because I wanted to survive, and I wanted to prove that even at my age, even being a woman in a very patriarchal society, a young woman, I could still make a difference. And therefore, I exerted myself beyond what I knew I was capable of doing. Fast forward, I come into the public space, and it is quite brutal and very competitive, because again, it was a very male-dominated space. And I was again very lucky to find allies. Then I didn't know that was the English word. People that would actually care to tell you, this is the path you need to follow if you have to succeed. And I found some of them. Two of them I remember. One is a lady, she's still in the space. She ended up being a PS during the time I was a CS. And one has since transitioned. And they would speak good things about my capability and my discipline, the work ethic, even when I didn't know. Later on, I would then find this to be what we call champions of a modern day workspace. And so they spoke on my behalf even when I wasn't there. What that did for me was to give me confidence, was to give me the energy to keep going. It gave me the appetite to want to keep excelling. And therefore, this for me, I keep saying, is not a very traditional kind of space. The title of my book is informed of champions who spoke on my behalf without my knowledge. And because when I moved from one parastatal into the private sector, and then suddenly I made an application to join a parastatal as a CEO, everybody knew you cannot have that kind of energy and conviction as Sicily unless you come from a big family, Kenyan space the way we know it. And therefore, I was branded to be an in-law of the then president, Kibaki. And I rode on that illusion. I rode on it, and I did not, go feeling like I owed anybody an explanation that I was not a Kibaki. Truth is, I had not met Kibaki. But, I rode on that because that opportunity then meant for me, if I packaged myself as if I was a Kibaki, then I was actually going to be given space to keep going. And as fate would have it again, there was to be then another illusion immediately after. After Kibaki exited, President Uhuru came in. And I made an application without necessarily knowing anything to do with President Kibaki or his family or those people who pull strings. I made an application to be a PS. Then I had outgrown my CEO work. Again, everybody thought she is too close to the Uhurus and therefore she's also a relative. I took a quick ride and I rode on that and I did reforms that hadn't been seen in a lot of the dockets that I served. The lesson that I picked out of that, Pauline and colleagues, is that if you look deep enough, there will be opportunities which look like things meant to undermine you. Because people thought I would then be undermined because I was associated by somebody who, in quotes, she's here because of the Kibakis. But as soon as I got that, I was careful to remind myself that even if I was a Kibaki, even if I was, which I wasn't, my work must speak for me on the one hand. So I had to be competent and very dedicated to do the work that I needed to do. But on the other hand, I had to be extremely visible. Now, girls are very competent. They know what they are doing. They could be a Kibaki, they could be a Ruto. But unless you're visible and your voice can be heard, it means people will then commute you to being in that space because of the Kibaki or the Uhuru. And therefore, speaking out, I do recall that when I was a CEO in the T-board before I became a PS, every quarter, every 3 months, I had a press conference articulating the performance of the sector. That was T sector, which I was responsible for. So visibility for me speaks. I coach a lot of ladies who are sitting in very, very high offices, very, very technically competent, extremely competent. But we lose the plot because then voice does not match competence. You're shy. And for me, because I think of the background, I was able to balance between the competence, deliver the job, but also be present. Pauline?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Such great nuggets. I like that you mentioned about allies, champions, what modern day right now we are calling sponsors. Yeah, having good sponsors, people can speak for you. Visibility, very important. Yeah, yes, many women are good workers, but we believe that our work should speak for itself. No, you actually have to speak up. Yeah, so thank you very much for that, Cecil. I also want to ask Dr. Faith the same question. Yeah, talk to us about your journey about finding your voice. How did you start your journey of finding your voice? And what was the one thing that told you, you have to start speaking up now?
Okay, let me unmute. Journey of finding, yeah, you can hear me?
2 minutes, 2 minutes, yeah, so that we can move.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I think my journey began a long time ago. When I was about 8 years old, my father, who was a very abusive man, one day, I don't know what the argument was about, or what he was fighting me or my mother or whoever he was fighting. I can't remember all the details. What I do remember is that I started to sort of push back against what he was doing and what he was saying. And he immediately goes into this, well, and that's in French. In English is, you're just like Wangari Maathai. At the age of 8, I didn't know who that was, right? I was growing up in Kirinyaga. No, actually, that time was still in Nyeri. I did not know who Wangari Maathai was. It took 2 decades, right, to finally find out who Wangari Maathai was. But that thing stuck in my head, like, whoever that woman is, there must be something about her, right? And so years later, when I'm in spaces where, women are not being allowed to speak up, and by that I mean starting from the church, and I'm like, I don't understand why we can't speak up. I would speak up. And so my first sort of big incident meant that I ended up getting fired from a church because I spoke up, because I wasn't going to just, slink away quietly and let things go. I would ask questions. right?
Yeah.
I would, confront the senior leadership and ask questions about why they were doing things, I ended up fired. But that did not stop me. It just added fuel to the fire, and I've been speaking up since.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Dorcas, maybe you can share with us where your journey of finding your voice started.
I don't know how we can outdo being fired, but I'll try. So mine started actually quite early in high school. And it was one of those, I would say, nostalgia moments, because it wasn't a good moment just to speak out. But as usual, high school, people strike. We're in a mixed school. And I'm in my Form 3. And, you have entered high school and your goal is, we're never going to have a strike, because first, I can't run in the tea leaves and all. It was just going to be chaotic for me. I knew I would just fail at it. So it happened. And I remember it was a Friday night, and we had just come out of preps and we had 2 hours to watch tele. And the boys decided to come to our side, and it was very clear that the plan was we needed to go out because there was no way half of the school was going to be on strike. And they came to our side. It wasn't so late, around 9:30, and we knew things had gone wrong. And at that point, we were told it's time to go out. And I remember, I think I must have been crazy, because at Form 3, you have not planned this thing. Remember, I told everyone, we're not leaving. First, I don't know who's running in the dark because the lights have been switched off. You don't have the capability of figuring out your next steps at that point. But I remember we blocked the door and I told everyone, we are going to stand firm. This is one of those days you say, this is what I want to do. And of course, they barged in. But I remember I just stood and I said, no, we're not joining you. You can run, but we are not joining you. And I didn't know what that looked like until another 6 months ahead, when we were now in Form 4. And everybody was like, we need to change things at school. We need a new head girl. We need somebody who can advocate for us. We need somebody who can stand up for us. And from a movement where the school would assign a head girl, we moved to a movement to where people would vote. And people just came out and said, you know what, we know who our leader is. We know the person who will hear our cry and stand up, even when things are very difficult and you'd be tested on the ground. And I got elected to be a head girl. Had I planned? No. Had I purposed that I'm going to exit as a head girl? Definitely no. But I remember one of the things I told people is, I'm not doing this alone. The courage of standing wasn't inborn in me. It was the fact that you also stood with me. So my learning there was, in that shaky moment where I was shivering and I was very sure I was about to be hit by a stone or something, I stood my ground. And I've noticed over time and at work, I've had to stand my ground. And yes, we end up getting fired, Faith, for standing our ground. But it has seen me having better days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your journeys. Yeah, and that is why we are here. Yeah, because I think there's always a turning point. Yeah, where you decide, you know what, I am done keeping quiet. I am done letting things just slip by. Yeah, yet I could have done something. Yeah, that could have influenced it. Yeah, so there's always that one turning point. Yeah, so for me, even the reason why we're doing all these webinars, trying to coach women, is because I remember in my leadership journey, first of all, I was in a media houses for a decade. And guess what? In that decade, I never, not once, went in front of the TV. Can you imagine? I'm in the media house, even the HR director. But at that point, I am shy, yeah, of going in front of the TV. But I remember there was one point when now I got out, when I started my entrepreneurship journey, and I realized that if I do not speak up, this will be the death of Pauline, the brand, and Pauline, the entrepreneur. And I realized if you do not speak up, yeah, it was very clear in my mind, and I'm sure you've seen me quote this, that closed mouths do not get fed. You don't talk, you're not going to get fed. Yeah, you cannot influence with a closed mouth. And for me, I remember making that decision when I started my entrepreneurship journey, that I would speak up. Yeah, that I would use my mouth, yeah, to influence people, yeah, and be able to market even the things that I am selling. Because as an entrepreneur, if you don't market your products, you will not be able to eat. Yeah. So that's when I found my voice for me. Yeah, where I realized it's not, you can ride with a company brand for long, but there's a point where you will stand on your own. Yeah, where you have to actually speak up. So Dr. Faith, I'm coming to you. So there's this phrase, yeah, assertive, yeah, not aggressive. Yeah, I would like you to explore the meaning of the two words, yeah, and how it plays out in the market space, especially for women.
Yeah. So assertiveness, this is an important distinction, but it does get messed up, not by us women, but by those who want to silence us. Because for assertiveness, what we're trying to do is to own our voice, right? Owning your voice while honoring others. It's grounded in self-awareness. You know yourself. And of course, a whole lot of emotional intelligence, right? It's that emotional regulation. And assertiveness allows us to speak truth to power, to speak with clarity and with courage and with respect. On the other hand, aggression, if that's what somebody is actually doing, that one it overrides others, right? It's forceful, coercive, reactive, and it actually tends to stem from fear rather than, accurate self-assessment. So in the marketplace, women are often mislabeled as aggressive, especially when they challenge the status quo, when they say no, when they take the lead. So it's not so much a personal issue, it's often systemic, right? And this is where, when I coach women, I like to sort of remind us that assertiveness is your leadership currency. It's how you set your boundaries, advocate for your ideas, command respect, and not just attention, right? Our assertiveness is not for the purpose of attention, of just gaining attention. You can be kind and clear. You can be compassionate and direct, right? And when you blend in that emotional intelligence with assertiveness, then you can model a powerful way of leading, one that does not shrink or steamroll, but leads with strength and, of course, self-awareness.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like a warning to us as women that it comes with the territory. So anytime you're in leadership, just know that you will hear people telling you you're aggressive, you're being rough. Yeah. Yet the same words. Yes. Yeah. Yet the same words said by our counterparts, yeah, it's seen as leadership. So it's very important for us to just note that, yes, that will come with the territory in leadership. But the thing is, how do you deflect it? How do you deflect it in your mind so that you can keep going on, keep moving forward? Yeah. So I'll move to you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Faith. I'll move to you, Dorcas, with a different kind of question. And the question is about speaking up. Yeah. So they say, damned if you do and damned if you don't. Yeah. So have you seen this playing? How have you seen this playing out in the market space, especially for women? And what would be your advice to your younger self as someone trying to find your voice, yeah, and define your brand in the market space? Because I feel a lot of women feel very conflicted about speaking up. Yeah. So how would you help your younger self as you navigate this?
So thanks for the question. I think one of the interesting things in HR, you get to see this very clear, especially either when somebody is joining in, you see the potential and you have to almost literally get it out of them that, you're capable of doing it. But I would like to pick one scenario that happened at work that also reminded me that you'd rather lose it all and walk away with your confidence than just tolerate or accept things that need to be done. in a certain way by a certain person or in their own way. And this coming from just what you've talked about in performance. There was one incident that was very, very clear in regards to a promotion that needed to take place. And we knew we had the capable team internally. And we knew 101%, even if we were to source it out, the learning curve would have been long. And what I saw was a clear, assertive, well-confident woman showing up and saying, I'll take up the role. And we ended up going into a whole 3 months of almost trying to figure out why this person should not take the role. We have already cleared it on HR. This person is capable, they're doable, but the one bit of spec, and this is a spec that I don't know why it disrupts people, and it comes to salary, because that small spec on salary increment just causes havoc. And what I saw was somebody having to reaffirm and reascertain their skills over 3 months, only for them to be told this role will not be given to you, you are not successful. And we had to sit down and agree, how are we going to go about this? And when she gave me feedback and said, I know I am capable, I know this is a role I have worked hard to achieve, and at the end, I know it's being taken away from me. The best option is to do what is right. And I remember one of the things she did is she spoke up. Management wasn't doing the right thing. We had up what we were reporting to. And in 24 hours, things turned around. There was hell at the boardroom, but one of the things I loved, it was led through integrity. It was doing the right thing at the right time, not choosing to keep quiet for the sake of things and allowing people to step on you. And in the same timeline, I was just trying to exit that organization. And one of the boards told me, this is not going to happen. Both of you are capable. And one of the things I learned from her is you will always be seen, and this is what is the hurting part. You'll always be seen that you're losing. You'll always be seen that you left a role that was good, and all you needed to do is nod, sign a paper, tick yes, and just say everything is okay in all the meetings. But one of the things that was a learning curve for me there was, what kind of principles do you have? Because when you're speaking up, you're not speaking up sometimes just to be heard that you have an opinion or an idea. You're speaking up because somebody is stealing your idea, somebody is taking away your power, your capability, or taking away the work you have put in. So my learning there, Pauline, was when you're speaking up, come with facts. Don't just show up with words, because those facts are the ones that will affirm what you're saying. And if it's for the show, do it in the house, because it will never get you to the boardroom at all. Just be affirm with all that you have done for your work. Thank you.
Yeah. And the thing about speaking up, so that one is like when there's been an incident. Yeah, but there's also speaking up consistently as you work. Yeah, you know, a lot of us do a lot of hard work. Yeah, I know a lot of women actually are great hard workers. Yeah, but the thing is, as you speak, you better own your successes. You better share your successes, because we leave a lot of room for people to take up our work. Yeah, people take the success after you've done all the hard work. So even speaking up involves you speaking up about your successes. Yeah, sharing them. Yeah, because if you don't speak up, then no one will know that you're the one who has done it. And guess what? Those people always take people's credit. And so that's how you're wondering, okay, this person doesn't work, but they seem to be always moving forward, because maybe they were in a meeting where they shared and took up your work, because you never ever claimed it. So I think we need to speak. We need to always speak about our work, our successes, our journeys, and our experiences so far. Yeah, because if you do not speak, I tell people, even when I teach, when I coach, I tell them, you can have a very good CV, but who knows about it? Nobody knows about it. Yeah, it is in your room, it is in your house, hidden somewhere in a file. Yeah, so until you speak up, we will never know what you've done and what you're capable of. So you have to open up your mouth. Anytime you're given an opportunity, a platform, speak and share your experiences. That is the only way you'll be able to influence people with the experiences and the exposure and your journey. Yeah. But if you keep quiet, nobody will know that you have that experience. So thank you guys for that. So I'll come back to you, Cecile, and I have a very interesting question for you. Yeah, and especially because you have done private sector as well as public sector, and we've been watching some certain things happening, especially in the public sector. So it is good we have you because you're an former insider. So there's this view about success and likability. Yeah, they say the higher you go up the ladder, likability, is positively correlated for men, while it is negatively correlated for women. Yeah, so what is your view on this? And what practical tips can you give women on their way as they navigate their career up the ladder into positions of leadership? And before you answer me, I want to give you 2 examples that I have used repeatedly in my classes, to illustrate that. So there was the Shebesh and Kidero incident. You remember that incident where she was slapped and Kidero continued with his term. Then we also have Judge Baraza and the pinching of the nose of the watchman. So those are 2 good illustrations to actually illustrate that. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Pauline. That's very interesting. It sounds like you want to pave the way for where I'm going in 2027.
Yes.
And I'm not complaining. I am also involved in political strategy in my current space, in my current station. I designed that as well because I do believe we need to have as many women as possible also occupying the political spaces. They are called Tate and Maki, and I can confirm they are. I want to actually talk about an earlier one. I don't want you to take me to Shebesh. That's a little bit old for some of our younger colleagues in the audience. I want us to look at what happened with Sabina Chege and Farouk 2 weeks ago. And I had the unlucky or the fortunate position of having to discuss this matter last Monday on Citizen with the 2 male colleagues. And I used words that I perhaps prayed to be forgiven. And I said that the lady should be ashamed of herself. And, what followed was that nobody took note of the man who was making the lady dance around the podium. Nobody took note, and that is what life is. But all of us, including yours truly, Sicily, were reasonably offended because of a lady who seems to have been a role model up to a point. And then I think something got into her and she decided dancing around and showing her body is okay, as a leader. And that kind of didn't sit too well with me because he's somebody I know and I thought that she could do a little bit better. But even I, with my level of consciousness, wasn't actually concerned about the man because in my mind, in my subconscious mind, in my way of how I've been brought up, it is okay for the man to be the one parading the woman. It is gender bias that we've grown up with and that kind of gets ingrained in our minds. And therefore, the person who takes the wrath of all Kenyan is actually the lady. The man is innocent. He's actually doing what men do. That is why they marry 3 women and it's okay. I haven't seen a woman who is married to 3 husbands, again, that stage. So because of the stereotyping, it is true for a man who is acting actually not assertive, but aggressive. It is okay. The world can live with that because that is how they were created. But for a woman who seems to go anywhere near aggression, Dr. Faith has already shared with us, you are viewed to be actually an outcast. You are viewed to be an embarrassment. You are viewed to be shame on you. You are viewed not to be the kind of person that we want to relate with. So it is true. Again, from historical perspectives, only men, had the opportunity of one, going to school because the limited resources in communities such as mine would be sacrificed for the boy child, so that then, because they're the ones who will come back to take care of the family, the woman would, the lady would quickly, we want her to get married quickly so that, she's off, the burden goes off to the other family. And therefore, very few women actually were able to move all the way to the top of the ladder. Very, very few. And that is why today we celebrate.
Come, we go home.
Okay.
Sorry,
Gladys.
Yeah. And this is for the car.
Masha,
Okay.
please.
Masha, you can help us. I mean, we have to do all these things, and so it's understandable. Gladys is parenting and doing all this and listening, because this is the reality of the world we are in. So very few women got an opportunity and a head start to actually go up all the way. We celebrate when we have 3 female presidents in Africa, and really it's a celebration because of the background that I have shared. But importantly, we then get away from the stereotype, away from the gender biases, away from the patriarchal society. We also, as women, because of that, what has been developing in our minds, even when we have been given an opportunity, we suffer what we call the tied hen syndrome. Even when you have let the hen loose, they don't know where to run to, because all their life they have been tied. So even when you've been to Harvard, when you've been to the best universities, there's something in you that keeps on telling you, you got to be fearful because of the gender you belong to. The world belongs to men. Because of the same, then you begin getting into self-doubt. Even when you're doing an excellent job, you keep on looking at the mirror and saying, by the way, am I the one who did it? Was it really good enough? Can I even project it? Can I even present it? And so all that and many more then keep us where we belong. And it's no wonder then the CEOs and boardrooms and everything, only 25% of our gender are actually present. Even when we've talked about it, when we've sung about it, even when we have our Beijing moments, we seem to move and then not move.
Yes.
Let me come back then to say, men therefore then ride on that, because again, the opposite is true. They believe the leadership space belongs to them. The more aggressive they can be, the more of winners they look like they are or appear to be. Legal efforts or legislative efforts to get us at a more even space, again, are negated by the same people who are enjoying the power space. Remember, again, it's a power space, and nobody will give it to you. It is normally not given, it is taken. And therefore, we have these girls, because of their bringing, because of the space they are in, because of their self-doubt, because of fear and the imposter syndrome, they kind of hold their potential, back, and therefore they remain there. The next thing you ask, Pauline, is then, so what can be done? I want to suggest 3 or 4 strategies or, areas that we need to look at as we move forward. One, it is doing what you, Pauline, are doing. I am not sure I have seen a gentleman on this platform today. It is you knowing where the gaps are and what imposter syndrome is, and being a certified coach in that space, picking the other girls who are still in self-doubt and telling them, you know what, I was there one time and somehow I moved. So building a network such as this one, and learning hubs where these ladies can come in and we can be able to share our experiences. And if it gives anybody comfort, this kind of scenario happens even in cabinet. That is the highest decision-making space. We were exposed. We get exposed because it is them. Why are you talking loudly? Why do you think you know it? Why are you being bossy? Why are you being loud? It happens even there. And so that's one, holding each other and telling them, it can be done better. So come, we've been there, done it. Perhaps mentoring them, coaching them, giving them training sessions and programs, but importantly, allowing them into our networking spaces. But you girls also need to be available to attend those networking events where if nothing happens, you get to see Sicily and see that she's 4.2 and she's not 4.5. She looks like that when she's out in the public. The second broad strategy is you, the girl, thinking around your competencies that matter currently to be able to be heard, to be seen, to voice. the competencies that make you be able to influence a conversation when there is a negotiation happening, set boundaries when it is time to do the same, but to also just work on your self-esteem and, just feel confident that, I can speak. Honing your communication, skills and, just being good at it when you are able to speak and just working around you. And the third one and the last one I want to suggest is really around cultivating what you will, your personal brand. I will never one day be Pauline. And people will struggle liking me as Sicily, but that is just who I am. And I can only apologize for being Sicily. Pauline can only apologize for that. So working around your brand and enhancing what serves you, depending on the station in life you find yourself in. I'll be saying a lie if I think you can be in a networking event every fortnight when you're having 3 young children that you're also taking care of. Finally, I exit by saying there is no replacement for allies, male, female, champions, male, female. There will never be any replacement of people who think, okay, I think Faith is a good fit for this board position, even when she doesn't know. Pauline?
Thank you, Cecil, for those wise words. Thank you. Yeah, so there's work. I'm a true believer that yes, we're female, but we are not looking for leadership tokens, isn't it? We need to earn our way up so that we can be able to influence when we get there. Yeah, and so thank you very much for reiterating that. So Dr. Faith, over to you. I'd like you to talk about what advice you would give to women who find themselves suppressed, unable to speak up. Where can they start? Because I know there are a lot of women, it could be circumstantial and sometimes also self-inflicted. Where can they start? Especially because you've also done some work on imposter syndrome. Just walk them through how they would walk through this journey to finding their voice practically.
All right, so 3 have already been given.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't need to repeat what my sister from another mother has just said, that work on yourself, right? Cultivate your brand and, find allies and champions. But beyond that, let's just remember again that if you feel like your voice is being suppressed, you're probably right. It's not imaginary, right? If you feel that your voice is being suppressed, it is not your fault. It is the society in which we live, right? The patriarchy is very strong. We have been conditioned by our culture, by workplace dynamics, right? Even by past trauma. Because the story I began with, maybe my personality meant that, I kept it in mind, but I kept on being a pain in his, neck. But maybe another child would have been, right? I'm not saying I don't have past trauma, by the way, I have a lot of it, but it didn't shut me up. And so sometimes those are the sources of your silencing, right? That it is past trauma or it is things that have happened at work. The words we use like microaggressions, or, if you're constantly being mansplained, you say something, nobody pays attention. A man says the same thing, suddenly it is gospel truth. And I like what I heard Patricia Ishao sharing with us a couple of weeks ago at the FOWEC, Federation of Women Entrepreneurs. She shared that, when that kind of thing would happen, she would, when she got mansplained or when she got spoken over, right, she would just quietly wait, let the person finish, speaking, and then she'd say, thank you so much for reiterating my point, right? Don't let it go, right? Don't let it go. But instead of getting all angry or the word we're using today, aggressive, not be behind, right? Don't be 3 layers back. You know, when you suspect that maybe you won't be listened to as well, you know, that point of finding an ally or champion, sit next to the chair or the president, right? Sit where you will be visible, and where, if you have to, you can even whisper it to the, you know, to the chair, right? Find small ways to begin to speak up, to begin to own your voice, because it's there. It's just been pushed down. Your job is to reclaim it. And I guess this is also partly where some of the stuff that we do as coaches comes in, right? Helping women recover and reclaim their voices. So if you start from that place of, you know, if whatever you feel, name it, right? If you're not ready to speak out, write it down, right? Work with a coach. If it's trauma, work with a therapist, right? Then move into outer safety by identifying that person who can be an ally, a champion, or somebody who can listen to you practicing your voice and give you feedback. Sometimes even rehearsal, right? If you have a speech you need to give and you are afraid, rehearse it. Rehearse it in front of the mirror. Rehearse it in front of a friend, right? We didn't all start being, you know, we lose our confidence along the way. So we have to claim it. And your voice will grow stronger the more you use it, right? Confidence is an action. It's not a feeling. So the more you voice, the stronger your voice will grow.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. And actually, the more you do, the more you build onto your self-confidence.
Yeah.
The more you build onto your self-confidence, the higher your self-esteem. Yeah. So you can see it's a ripple effect. Yeah. So it has to have action. It actually has to have action. So for me, a golden rule that I use and how I started finding my voice is that any meeting you attend, you have to speak up. Just put that as a minimum KPI for yourself. Yeah, that any meeting you attend, you can't leave that meeting. Yeah, if you have not spoken. Yeah, because for me, how I look at it is, if they invited you into a meeting, they thought that you would be useful in that meeting, isn't it? Yeah, that you're a useful asset in that meeting. So imagine you come, you sit for 2-3 hours and you have not spoken. So it was as good as you not being there. So use that basic little trick, and you will find with the time, as you keep on, you'll start with 1 comment. Yeah, the next meeting you'll do twice. The next 3-5 times. You see, this is the action we're talking about. And guess what? It gets to a point you will be talking very confidently, and you won't even be thinking about it. Yeah, so just use that little trick, and I hope it will help you start finding your voice, and start with the smaller spaces. So start in your family, then move it forward to your department. Then you can move it now wider and wider. And you will find you will be like Sicily here, who speaks now to multitudes yeah, of people in the village. Yeah, when you're looking for the votes. Yeah, and you don't care and you don't fear, isn't it? Yeah, at that point. Okay, so I want to go to Cecil. So maybe you can tell us, why is the female voice important in the marketplace? Or can we just keep quiet? Do we need to speak up?
Pauline, we need to speak up. There has been sufficient efforts globally to create spaces for women to speak, because the world recognizes the importance of the female voices in decision making in all spaces, community, you know, public, private. Studies that have been conducted indicate that for corporates, that is a business side, where women take on leadership or are given equal footing in leadership and decision making, the return on investment yields an additional 20-25% on investment. And that's a money side of it. But when you look at the public spaces, again, studies do indicate for more equal society, where more women are involved in decision making and influencing public policy, societies then actually benefit to the extent of focusing on exactly what the people need, not what the boys want or think they want. And therefore, it is important for more women to speak and more women to offer themselves in terms of speaking. And importantly, it is said in the education sectors that once you've taken a girl to school, it's actually the whole community or society that you've actually schooled, because 1,000 given to a lady will yield benefits to a family that are perhaps double that than what a male colleague would have done with the same amount of money. And therefore, the research and evidence is there. And I don't think that tonight is a time to go into the research, but looking at you from the individual level, a personal level, if women don't speak, if women's voice get lost in the clutter of, everything else, it means you actually are compromising opportunity for your career progression as a lady. And that can be expensive. Some of us who struggle to go to school in not in very good conditions, went to school so that you can be able to salvage our families and our societies and our communities. And therefore, if we are not given a chance to progress in terms of career and influence and impact as what it is I've indicated, the micro, even macro level, it means then it's a wasted opportunity. In any case, they say we are more than half the population globally. And therefore, if our voices are shut down, it means half of the population's views do not count. You curtail innovation in that space, you actually curtail productivity that would have otherwise been in that space. Women, because of their nature in terms of being empathetic, are also known to rally in more perspectives before you close a decision, meaning you come out with a more optimal decision, whether it's a corporate level or society level. And therefore, it is important that we continue speaking. Again, at the individual level, your credibility as a career person, as a leader, gets whitewashed over time if you don't speak, because they naturally become part of furniture, right? Go into a boardroom, go into a meeting, you sit there and it's okay, you listen, you hear, you don't talk, and you go away. There's so much in you. And that is why in coaching we say everybody has some potential that is hidden within. And therefore we bring it out by having voice to all of us. Pauline?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so speaking up is actually showing up in your full essence. But also the key thing, what Cecil has said, is not to water down all that you have done. Because you can imagine if you're constantly invited to meetings and you don't speak up, you have no view about what is being spoken. With time, what will people say? That one doesn't add value. And those are the labels you don't want to be associated with. So you have to speak up. You have to influence with your mouth. Yeah, that's the only way we can be able to move up the ladder. Move up the ladder, move up the leadership ladder so that we can be able to influence policy. We can be able to influence our society. Thank you. So Dorcas, over to you. And I want to ask you a different kind of question, especially for people in the workspace. Yeah, so women have a challenge of always, some women, not all women, but some women have a challenge of always wanting to be liked and not to ruffle any feathers. Yeah, they say men get evaluated based on their performance, while women get evaluated on their personality and their skills. What's your view on this?
First, sorry to say it, you are absolutely right. When you don't have the right structures in organization, and remember, performance management tends to be the most annoying thing. And why I'm saying annoying, because most HODs try to sweep it the easiest way out. And therefore you find it that men will always be recognized for their effort, their willingness to drive, even when there's no result. The fact that they showed up and said yes is more than enough to tick a box. But I would want to take a step back so that we sort of understand, how did we get there as a society? We have structured our childhood, especially I would say first as Africans, to teach our boys to be the ones who are leading. And leading in the sense that us as girls are taught to be kind, be timid, be humble, don't speak up in a certain tonation. When you sound aggressive or you're trying to tonate yourself, then you are very aggressive and there's something wrong with you. And a label would be put. This one, try and avoid, is too harsh and judgy. But for the boys, the more aggressive they are, the more drive is there. And I remember there's a study that had been done where two resumes were put in place, and at one given point, they just interchanged the name, and it was Harold and I think something else. And the notion here was looking at the personality against the document, and they perceived that because this man had taken a time out of work, it was because of him being responsible and committed to family, whereas this was a maternity leave that somebody had taken. Yet the lady who had taken the gentleman's CV had jumped from one role to another, hadn't really climbed the ladder, and they were assumed to be not so hardworking. So the tendencies are there, and sometimes I would say first it's societal tendencies that have put us there. But this is the thing. Most of the time, we find ourselves feeling or wanting to be liked because we're seeking approval. And I would jump back to what Dr. Faith said, because sometimes it's just trauma you're dealing with and you have not dealt with that trauma. And it sort of just hinges you at work, because when you have put in the work, you have the proof you went and got the client, got everything, and someone just brushes off and says, no, by the way, the client has been calling me. We closed that. You were just doing the paperwork. And you're there sinking into a hole that is not there because you didn't get a nod, but you have done the work. So the likability has been born in us unknowingly. But how do we get out of it? If I was to say, most of the time, you would have to challenge yourself as an individual to decide, one, speak up for your work. And most of the time when you're speaking up about your work, we tend to assume we are boasting, or we're there bragging about what you've said. I've listened to Sicily, and let me tell you, what is in media tends sometimes to bring somebody very different. And then I'm listening to her and I'm feeling so humbled and so honored, because she knows her work. She speaks for her work. Her work is seen. But the inverse of our mind plays with us, because we will want someone else to speak of our work. We will not want ourselves to go and show up and say, this is what I'm doing. So one of the advice I always say is reiterate, ensuring you have written down your achievement. If you contributed to the team effort, respond back to that email and just say, you know what, we did it. I like the fact I was able to contribute 1, 2, and 3, and I look forward to the next. And sometimes that looks so menial and small, but that's your proof to your mind that you contributed to the work, because your mind, remember, is your biggest enemy. It will tell you you didn't do anything and you didn't contribute. And that's why your name was not called. And we are now bringing up kids who get trophies for showing up without doing the work. So again, a challenge is there, because there's those noisemakers who are there and those who have put in the work. And for me, what I'm doing, because I have 2 girls I'm bringing up, one of my girl loves football and ballet. The equivalent of it coming together sometimes doesn't make sense. But I go with it and I say, you will show up for that football training and we will go for the ballet, because you can do what you want. She knows about excavators and dump trucks. We don't bring up girls in that notion. We bring them up with pink is the color and the doll is beautiful and the cake is the best you can get. So which words and what environment are you creating? Because that's the environment the person will find at work unknowingly, because you assume this person is an adult, they should know, yet they do not know their effort. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm hearing there's a lot of our upbringing, how we were brought up, the kind of messaging that we had when we were growing up. I'm hearing also how we show up in the workspace will affect how we show up. And this aspect of women wanting to please, women, people pleasing, that people pleasing nature, that can be a contributor just by what kind of messages we had when we were growing up. And also the aspect of also keeping quiet. Remember when you were in high school, I was in a Catholic school, and I remember the nun headmistress telling us, ladies are to be seen and not to be heard. She was an Irish nun. And then now you can imagine, I get to corporate and then you discover that you have to speak up. So can you imagine the cognitive dissonance? All of a sudden you have lived your life being nice and quiet. So I want to go over, Masha, you need to tell me which questions are there in the chat so that we can start answering a few of the questions from the audience before we conclude.
All right. Both the questions are for Sicily. The first question, Sicily, is how do you navigate the political landscape, especially when you are expected to go to the grassroots to solicit votes? That's the first one. And the second one is there a thing as speaking too loudly? And Beatrice here is saying she's thinking about Gloria Oroboa,
Yes.
the Gloria situation and the Menses scenario. So, so many women indicated it was a private matter. So she wants to know what your insights are around that. So those are the two questions. And once we're done with that, maybe we can call on Karemi Koroi to ask her question.
Right. Thank you, Masha. So the second one is most interesting. Whether there is anything like speaking too loudly. Looking at what Dr. Faith has shared with us in terms of definition, the line is very thin between being assertive and being aggressive. Or you got to be very, very intentional in understanding that difference. And in understanding that difference, I always want to begin my conversations, whether coaching conversations or training conversations, by saying or asking whether really you know who you are. What is your level of self-awareness? Because then aggression seems to veer off, and tamper around with your emotions because you are just not aware what it is that you're dealing with. On the one hand. On the other hand, when you're leading as an apologetic, assertive leader, it presupposes that your level of your antennae of your self-awareness is that much higher. And therefore, I like to encourage part of the toolkit that a leader who wants to be necessarily unapologetically assertive and not aggressive to begin by asking themselves that really they know who they are. Do a quick assessment of your self-awareness. Do you really who you are? Do you know how you show up when you're under stress? Do you know how you show up when you're agitated? Do you know how you show up when you're in crowds and facing crowds? Do you know how you show up when people are actually abusing you? And because the space where we are in are the grassroots political spaces, small boys will abuse you and you have little to say because you'll not abuse them back. But if you know how you look and how you respond when you're grounded, by way of articulating your emotional intelligence, that it means you actually will let it pass. It will even be a joke. So some of these people we find in the political spaces, they are very, very highly emotionally charged. And I always say step back. I have made a not very successful of coaching a few political leaders and having them know who they are and how they show up when they're agitated. And it's a space which, God willing, I'll continue to push because I think they need it more than we do. Because otherwise we cannot be having 4 examples of personalities that we can relate with this evening. Inside 1 hour, we are with Sabina, we are on Oroba, we are with Shebesh, we are with Hero. It just shows how emotionally charged that space is. And it therefore means, Pauline, when we are done with these girls in corporate, we will also be going to the ones who are going to the political spaces, including yours truly. But coming back to being too loud, yes, you can be too loud, and it is not necessary, because what we are encouraging leaders to be is to be unapologetically assertive, owning your voice, owning your space, owning your values, owning that which matters at that point in time. But when you allow emotions to then drive you to the point of shouting, screaming, walking with the white panties which are looking red, I mean, you even if it was to be drama, then it's going to leave a few people wondering whether really that is what we bargained for. The next thing you wanted me to have a comment on is navigating the political landscape, and I think I have alluded to what this looks like. It is a space where really it grows. It's a space where your purpose must be only driven out of you participating in that space. It is not a space for your usual, person who is trying to discover their true self, their purpose, and this and the other. It is a space that can be very real. And that is why, much as we want to speak about progression, 7 governors out of 47 is a drop in the ocean. Begin there. Out of 7, 1 gets knocked off. That is my sister in Meru, because she's not able to play ball. Because when you know your worth, your value, your voice, you speak in the political space, they say you're loud, they say you're aggressive, they say you're bossy, they say you're inconsiderate, and they use all those labels which we've talked about. So most of us will either keep off, and we don't keep off. If we are lucky to actually get in there, the risk of you being knocked off is equally high. And I had somebody asking me, so when you know the space is that volatile, when you know that space is that unforgiving and untidy, Sicily, why do you still want to go there? And I like to quote, because it's in the open, I like to quote one Mother Carol, and she said, you're gonna resign. Otherwise, you lose the moral authority of complaining about poor leadership and poor governance at the devolved units. And therefore, because somebody must make a sacrifice to go ahead, it is part of what it is we are doing. But we are doing it in a manner where we are also calling and summoning the support of our allies, our support structures, including our families, our support structures, including the people who believe in our vision, people that we have impacted in the past. Because unless we do that, it means we are going to be clawing back. Out of 7 governors, chances are we are going to have 5, because it's untidy. But when you get there, when you arrive, and this is where most of my girlfriends, the ladies in the space, get it wrong. They do not embrace political savviness as a competence. My friends, you will not survive in the political space unless you are political savvy. That is true of the hard-nosed political space, but it is also true of the spaces which you are occupying, because there is office politics. It is a miniature of the politics where we are playing. It is where you're being required to be good at reading the mood of a room at one point at a time. Read it, interpret. It is the ability of you knowing who holds influence. It could be that I'm reporting to one President Uhuru, but really he's not the one holding influence at that point in time. So who else in the space is holding influence, and therefore who I need to also be all right with or align with? How are you able to anticipate conflicts and go ahead of them? Is part of that political savviness. How about the alliances in the political spaces? Who speaks for you and says, she's actually going to be nominated. She's the one we are going to, give preference because of where she has been before. How about yourself and the team that comes along when you arrive? Of what use are they to you when they have actually held you, supported you? But when you arrive, you have arrived and you think, Sicily, you're a genius, A+ student ever since you're young. But everybody else around you doesn't matter. That goes around and everybody thinks, she uses and dumps. And that kind of shortens, you overshoot the runway sooner than later. Pauline?
Thank you. Thank you for that, Cecil. So I always wonder also, Cecil, when you are in the grassroots, how do you get the general population, the voters, to vote for you, especially as a woman? Because I always find, especially upcountry, they are a bit patriarchal. So how are you able to bridge that, especially when you're looking for votes from the grassroots?
Pauline, it comes to what I have famously written about the 3 C's. It is your ability to communicate convincingly because you're being authentic and you don't guess. Today you don't change, and December I'm a different person. I am just I am who I am. I have my flaws. I have had my failures. I have had my experience, and that is what I'm bringing. Number 2, and this is very important, it is a character that I carry. Everything else gone out of where we've been. It is character that will remain. This morning, this afternoon, I went to some shopping space, and I really enjoy the space that I'm able to just drive and go shopping. And the lady looks at me, and I'm having a mask, and I'm shopping, and we're having a chat, and she says, "Oh, initially, I don't know why I thought you look like Sicily. You know, Sicily, the one who was a minister." And I said, "Okay, so what happens after that?" "Yeah, I think no, you look so alike." Yeah, and I said, "Thank you." And I was done, and I actually came home. And so character, because then I don't think that she would have been keen thinking she looks like Sicily if that Sicily was another thief, unless they were pointing at the thief and she was calling other people to say, "Look, these are the people who look at our stuff." So character. And people at the ground level are able to actually follow and say, "How come you're so freely walking on the streets and actually even going to the streets without even security? How come you're going to a supermarket with, kind of character?" That is what you take home at the end of everything else. And number 3, I had alluded to this, is competence. That you have an idea you're actually going to offer yourself to make a difference because you have expertise in this area, you have expertise in that area, and you have expertise in that area. People like to know that you can drop dead tomorrow. And therefore, what is your support structure around you? Who are the people around you? Who is helping you with the campaign messaging? Who is helping you with keeping the ground warm when you're back in Nairobi? Most of the week I'm in Nairobi. A few days I am in the village, including tomorrow very early morning. And therefore, the 3 C's for me seems to be what we take in the corporate space to bring value. It seems to be really the same menu that you take at the grassroots. At the grassroots, you must be so agile that your corporate image, which we live in Nairobi normally, that you can be actually relate, associate from a way of how you project yourself and how you blend with people at the ground level. Because if you bring your Lavingtonness in a village, then I doubt there will be people who you can relate with. You don't become, approachable. You don't, you know what I'm saying? There's a gap. There's a class gap, which you have created. But just knowing that and being aware that people like to associate with one of themselves. That's why this is our thief. She's from our village. You can relate with her. We'll still deal with her. She's our thief. So in the village, they want to say, "Oh, this is a woman just like us. She dresses closer, to how it is we are dressing here. She speaks the language that we are speaking down here. Anakunywa chai na ile kikombe kubwa ile kama sisi na hana shida." So you got to be very agile to fit in those spaces. Pauline?
Yeah, fantastic.
We will have, I think, a webinar on the political strategy and spaces when we get a critical mass. I know the girls you're having today are a little bit more, on the
more corporate. But no, eventually some of them want to transition to that political space. So it is a maybe significance when they're looking at their latter years. Maybe they want to move into politics also. So it is a good discussion to have here. Thank you. So Marsha, I can see Jacqueline's hand is up. Does she want to ask a question?
Yeah, Jacqueline.
You can put on your mic.
Thank you very much. This is a very informative webinar for the ladies, and I'm one of those who are unapologetic. Maybe it also comes with age. And I was once told by a supervisor at my workplace that never leave a meeting without saying anything. So I never leave a meeting without saying anything. Yes, mine is just a comment. I don't know, at some point I'm requesting that you need to deal with, women, as you start growing older, issues of perimenopause, menopause, hot flashes, they do affect people's moods. And sometimes if you are not aware, the self-awareness that you kept talking about, it can affect your career. And then, at some point they're like, these old women also, they are a nuisance. Maybe my second point, which I wanted to put across, is that recently I was involved in an issue at office, and I was right. I was the one who was right, but someone was trying to bully me, a man bullying me into accepting substandard work. And I stood my ground. At some point, I felt that I was going to lose the job. But I remember someone giving me advice, which I want to also give to the ladies here, is that sometimes when you have a conflict, kindly check in with the ladies, especially those at managerial level. One gave me tips that, now you're going to talk to the director general about your issue, go with the facts. Don't start ranting like the way you're ranting right now, and you're getting so emotional, you're so annoyed. So always have your facts, even in the in meetings, because that's the way men are wired. I want to believe so. They don't want to hear this ranting and so many stories. Otherwise, if you rant and you say so many stories, people get turned off, and then you can easily be termed as an emotional wretch. And yet you may be deep down, you have your issues, but you're just failing to communicate across. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, those are very pertinent add-ons that you have given us. Yes, a lot of us women are also accused of being too emotional. Yeah, so if you are in a situation where you feel your emotions are rising, very important to be able to cool yourself down. Best way to cool yourself down is before you speak, count 10 to 1 backwards. By the time you get to 1, you'll have cooled off. Yeah, but don't let your emotions control the conversation. Yeah, because I think the worst thing is to be labeled as that you're too emotional. Yeah, or worse off, be the women who also control the office and their colleagues using their emotions. Yeah, ladies, we have to rise above that so that we're not labeled. And once you get labeled, it's very hard to get out of those labels. Yeah, so let's use our facts, let's be professional, let's be competent in our work, and be able to speak up when we need to speak up. Yeah, so thank you very much. Masha, is there any other question in the chat?
We have two final questions. I think I shall just ask the two. Let me start with the one that the panel. How do you deal with a woman who pulls another woman down in the workspace? So that is one, and there's a question going to Dorcas. As a young professional, where should we draw the line when it comes to speaking up to those senior positions? Sometimes standing your ground can come with consequences. As someone who is assertive, how can one navigate this balance effectively? And then we have a final one for
Masha, let's answer them. I think too many will confuse us. Yeah, so the first one was, how do you deal with women who pull other women down? I think Sicily would be the best to answer that question.
Pauline. Hello, Pauline.
Yes.
Did you ask for me to respond?
Yes. Yes, I would like you to answer that question. How do you deal with women who like to pull other women down?
To my mind, I'm not sure that it will be any different in dealing with a woman who is doing this thing compared with a man who is doing the same thing. Just that it is expected women, because of what we have already looked at, are expected to be more empathetic, to be a bit more understanding, because of the way we've been brought up and, that whole thing. Therefore, it is expected they should actually be kinder, gentler, and more understanding. But I think I would deal with either gender in a manner of, I don't know, that I would actually be in a way getting to them and indicating to them what I stand for in terms of respect that need to be reciprocal. And I would do it again with a lot of respect. I would speak to them in helping them to see the implication of the actions in terms of either affecting me at the micro or organizational level and my productivity or usefulness. And I would do it with respect. I would perhaps attempt to have a go-between as opposed to me directly getting to them. And this is where, again, a champion, a mentor, are somebody who can be a go-between as opposed to getting at them directly. If I'm able to be of good courage, I would then make sure I do what it is you've said. I would pick myself up so that I am not an emotional wreck by the time I'm speaking to them. But it is said, for you to actually be unapologetically assertive and keep going, it is fair for you to set your boundaries long before. Get your expectations known, whether it is your partner at home, whether it is in the workplace, for you to set the boundaries in advance. And so that it is that you are known, you can only take so much, beyond that. And I think there are two or so underlying words: knowing your worth, your space, your voice, but communicating the same with respect.
Yes.
I've scattered around that a little bit, and I think Faith can help us. She's been a little bit in that space more than I.
Yes, but I think you've picked it. Yes, I think you have picked up the key issues, but maybe Dr. Faith can add.
Okay, so yes, I was writing down Queen Bee syndrome. When you hear of women who pull other women down in the workplace, that's the term that social scientists have decided to give that phenomenon. And the idea basically being like, a queen bee, there can only be one queen.
Yes.
And so there are women who, women in positions, they start to distance themselves from others, or they are hypercritical, or they're unsupportive, or they're undermining. And so, yeah, we can judge them harshly, like, I believe it's Mrs. Albright who said, the former US ambassador, blah, 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 that one, Madeleine Albright, who said there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women. But the reality sometimes is that the reason why women might be doing this is they have internalized a scarcity mentality, that they have, sort of believed that really there can only be one of me, or they can only, and so they perhaps fought so hard to get there, to earn that seat at the table. And so once they start to internalize that idea of there can only be one at the table, that scarcity mindset then fuels competition. rather than collaboration. So it's a symptom of a systemic bias, not necessarily inherent malice. Now, granted, there are some women who are just malicious. So let's, while we want to look at the external causes and say, yes, there's the systemic issue, it can also be just, some women are just bitches, and they just are. And so behavior matters. And so try and understand where this is coming from. Is this person just toxic? In which case they should be dealt with as being toxic, or is this somebody who perhaps need understanding, some coaching, some, maybe they were traumatized on their path to the top, right? So first, you'd want to stay grounded in your own values. Don't mirror insecurity within insecurity, right? Then, of course, what Sicily said about setting boundaries, be clear about what your boundaries are. And if possible, have a direct conversation with the person who's doing this. Clearly, you need a lot of emotional intelligence to be able to do that, where you can be able to sort of confront with kindness, right? Just use kindness first. That I noticed you doing this. Can we talk about it? How can we support each other? How can we build each other up? And third, build alliances with women and allies who model generosity, not gatekeeping, right? Look for other people within the organization who are, more likely to fix your crown or fix one another's crown rather than pull down the one who's trying to rise.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Doc, for that. Yes. So, yes, definitely. And I'll tell you, I don't know if there's anyone whose career they've never encountered one of those. They're all over, guys. Yeah, they are everywhere. So I think the thing is to just know how to navigate it. But for me, I know I went through that process for 3 years. But what I learned from that process was, as bad as she was, in the flip side, she actually taught me to become a very good HR person. Yeah. So not everything is bad through the situation. I think for me is, yes, try all those interventions. But in the process, I know you're also learning. You're also learning in the reverse. You're actually learning in the reverse the things you should never do to any other person. Yeah. So it's not all lost. Yeah. I'm not saying we encourage it, but it's not all lost. So me, my bad boss actually taught me how to become a very good person with people. So that was the silver lining out of that experience. So Masha, there's another question.
Yes, the question was for Dorcas. Where should we draw the line when it comes to speaking up to those in senior positions?
Okay.
Thanks, Masha. So one of the things I'll say is it's good that you are assertive. It's good you are. But I've also come to learn this out of experience. One of the things of being assertive means you also don't have to show the aggression. And I believe Dr. Faith and Cicely actually emphasized on this. So it's one of those steps you have to do, especially when you're either thinking about building up your confidence, but now this one is you're not lowering your guard, you are going back and asking yourself what I'm about to present or what I'm about to defend, because I'm assuming this is the right thing to do, but you have to face your senior and you feel you really need to, bring your A game and just be so strong. You need to ask yourself what you're about to do. Will it resolve the issue or will it bring a bigger issue? Like there'll be a discomfort where somebody feels they're being attacked. And sometimes that's how it is. And I remember at one point, Cicely mentioning, remember you will get into a room and you are good at your work, but you have to remember the other people in that room that are also good at their work. And it's not about being right all the time. It's about how do you bring in that discussion. So one question, how are you going to approach it? Are you going to bring it as a question, or will you bring it in a way that even they think they are right? You know, they solve the issue that is at hand. And I've dealt with bosses who are like that. And, you know, you'd show up in a meeting and one thing they'll say, we are not arguing. It's done, it's agreed. So you're going to do one step and ask yourself, if what I'm about to speak or say or how I'm going to present it is going to bring more disruption, then you'd rather either prepare yourself with someone who can go and help you present it so that it's a discussion. We're not arguing about who's right or this is the right way. We're saying, can we look at a different option? And I know it sounds easy to say it, Millie, but I know it is hard. But the issue here is when you're dealing with a senior person, respect tends to be the most important thing in that discussion. And as somebody told me where they work in a very, I would say, difficult environment, sometimes when you enter in those environments, your goal is not to finish and do the work in 1 month or 1 year. The work might take you 2 to 3 years. So what is important to work on? What is the right way to approach it? And as in HR, we always say, in disciplinary, you hear all the issues. You know this person stole and you found them. But you know, you'll be there listening and then walking them through. This is the process. So you're not coming out to say, you're the thief, you need to be out. You're saying, it in a different way, in a tone that would be acceptable, and they would actually exit themselves. And the same thing would happen for a senior. If you come with the fights and you're not fighting somebody, you're just bringing it as an awareness, you'd be seen. But over time, you'd be even heard. And I'd go back to what Pauline said about speaking in a room. The more you go for meetings, you need to remember sometimes speaking, yes, is good, but at the time you're speaking also matters. You can't speak when there's been so much noise. So have you prepared for that meeting? Have you prepared for that engagement you're about to get to? And how have you prepared? If you have prepared to go for war, remember there's someone else who has been at war with you even before you knew it. So how do you approach it? And how do you assert yourself, but in a respectful way? HR tends to be a docket known for, just cost. How do you come in as advisory? I like thinking like a strategy at this point. You are only coming to say, this is the theoretical way of doing things. And then you let things be played where your boss or your senior person comes out and says, this is the way to do it. And even if they're the ones being had to say that that was the idea, you know where it stemmed from. You know you're the one who planted that seed, and then it will work. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dorcas, for that. And just to conclude, I think we've gone overboard. Just to conclude this section, because I want us to close it off. I just want to tell you that please look out in our socials. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you will see that we have a program called She Soars, and it has been specifically designed to help women find their voices. We've already started the first cohort, and I can see some of the members are already here, the first cohort of She Soars. But I'll ask you and urge you to please sign up. If you know that you really want to get into leadership, you want to find your voice, there is a journey that you have to take yourself through. We start this journey with truly understanding who we are and what we carry. Because until you know what you carry, until you know who you are, you will not be able, you will stop listening to what people tell you that you are. And when you're able to be confident in yourself, trust me, the sky is the limit. And that's the journey we are taking the ladies through, because we want to build now women leaders in the market space and in the political space. So please look out for the She Soars. There's another cohort that will be starting in October. So please sign up and we'll share more information on the program. And maybe Wamoyo, you can share a link here in the chat group for those who want to sign up. So the last question to our esteemed panelists is, what is your parting shot? Especially to the ladies here, who want to go up the corporate ladder, who would want to eventually get into politics, What is your parting shot for all these ladies who have assembled, who have been listening and are curious to learn from you? Yeah, and thank you for the session because we have learned a lot from each one of you. What's your parting shot? I want to start with Cecil.
Thank you, Pauline. Next time I'll be coming last because you've started with me forever. But it's been fun. Let me just say very quickly that
Yes.
your ability to move up the leadership ladder is equal to your ability to navigate complex power structures. And for you to ably navigate complex power structures, it means that you must be extremely aware of who you are, your potential, your trait, your temperament, this and the other. Thank God there are tools that help you to know who you are. On the other hand, it is your ability to understand those that you are relating with, because again, you don't lead in a vacuum. You lead in and around people. And therefore also understanding how to manage the relationships, combined with your own ability of understanding who you are is what actually will distinguish you from going up faster, going up slower, or not even going at all. It has to be a deliberate journey. It has to be an intentional one. You must be present and you must be like us, be very prepared to fail, but don't be too long once you have tipped. Once you tip, be in a hurry to get up, dust, and take that as a lesson and run. Don't do it alone. I mean, when we were doing these things, Pauline, you know that I'm a little bit ahead of you, or maybe ahead of you. We didn't know anything about support structures that were called coaches, leadership coaches. And even if they were there, you'd be shy because then somebody thinks you are not intelligent enough. That's why you're looking for somebody to help you.
Yes.
We didn't have the kind of networking opportunities and, sister circles that we find in leadership that we have now. We didn't have deliberate mentors that actually want to see you succeed. And no wonder the, pull her down syndrome, I think, was a lot higher, and there were fewer people, women in leadership then, compared to where we are today. So the space has opened up quite a lot. Don't do it alone. Don't sweat the small stuff alone. Look for support so that then you can move a little bit faster and it can be a bit more comfortable for you. Thank you, Pauline, for having us this evening. And thank you, ladies, for believing that you can learn something this evening.
Thank you, Cecil, for your great wisdom. Okay, over to you, Dorcas. Let me change the format. Yes, Dorcas, you can finish. Give us your parting shot.
So my parting shot is when you are at a position, especially of power, always remember there's somebody looking down on you. How you assert yourself and how you show up in these rooms matters most how we're making the next leader. And one of the things I've come to appreciate is when people reach out, like now in LinkedIn, somebody will reach out and say, mentor me, I want to do this. But they're doing that because they've seen you showing up very uniquely in certain spaces. So you need to know, how do you manage that presence, because someone else is learning from you. I have learned from Pauline over my career, and I'll tell you 100%, when I just am asked who is a coach, I refer to someone I am looking up to because of how they show up in a space. But also question your actions, question yourself. When you feel in doubt, when you feel the way you got that feedback didn't sit in well with you, call yourself to a meeting or even get a coach, because that's the only way you'll affirm, was I overstepping, or is it that somebody is trying to shut you down? So for me, it is show up, uplift others, don't just walk alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas. And thank you for your wise words. Yeah, we have really appreciated it. Okay, over to you, Dr. Faith.
All right. So my parting shot to women, your voice matters. I think we've made that clear tonight. Your presence matters. And of course, to quote Lupita, your dreams are valid. Your dreams matter. And so don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for external validation. Do it now. Speak now. As one of you wrote in the chat, even if your voice is shaking, speak now. Lead now. Rise now. There is no better time to do it than now. Because when you rise, you give others permission to also rise. When you rise, you make it easier for others to also rise. And the tools are there to help you. You have 4 in the room tonight and many others whose names I'm recognizing in there, right? That's where there's coaches. That is where there's therapists. I know we didn't talk a lot about therapists tonight, but let me add that in there, right? That is why there is people called mentors. That's why there is sponsors, and I don't mean mubabas. That is why there is, people who have gone a few steps ahead of you, who can share their wisdom, and who are generous of spirit, who are willing to walk alongside you. So do it, because until we have a critical mass of women speaking up, until we have a critical mass of women leading, we will continue to have those disparities that Sicily was quoting earlier, right? We have to have a critical mass.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. for those wise words. So my part in short is actually the quote that I had actually shared when we were doing this webinar. And it says, and it's actually what is in the back. It's my background. When a woman learns to advocate for herself without apology, she doesn't just change her story. She changes the room she walks into. Yeah. And so for me, I'll urge each woman who's tuned in today, please, and especially if you have children, and if you have girl children, please note that your young girls are watching you. They're actually watching you. They're going to copy you, and they're going to be just like you. And I'm going to ask you, the challenge is, are you okay with what you're modeling? Are you okay? Are you modeling leadership for your younger children, for the next generation? Yeah, because I can tell you that they actually watch, and they just don't do what we tell them. They do what they see. Yeah, so I pray that we can be able to be great leaders that we all are. I believe that there's leadership in each one of us. Yeah, so let's step into our spaces. Let us influence the spaces that we are in. And I truly believe that women have a special gifting and special blend that they bring in every room that they get in. So please, ladies, do your best wherever you are, but let's step up. Let's step it up. And I believe that we can be the change that we want to see. We are the change that can change society. Yeah. So the way society is right now, imagine without our voices, most of us can imagine if we put in our voices. Yeah, it's only going to get better. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. And yes, as we said, there's a series, so please look out for the next one. I know we are also going to be talking about something very interesting next time. Yeah, and so just keep logging in, keep learning, and keep growing. And we want to say goodbye, not unless if you really have a pressing question, you can stay behind. But we are done, and we want to say thank you very much. Kwaherini. Thank you. Thank you very much. The presenters can maybe wait a bit for a few minutes as the rest leave. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much, team, and goodbye.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. And keep coming.